I'm telling you that what happened yesterday was zero coincidence. That's what I'm going with. There was no coincidence in what went down yesterday. Everything that happened was calculated and for a reason. So good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. Hope you're all doing fantastic. A little bit of an odd setup here today, but we will roll with it. We've got really great news stories to get to, but I'm gonna try to bust through them because we gotta get to the elephant in the room, and I'm feeling like a pack of germs. That's a really sick double pun because pachyderm is elephant like in the room, and I was sick, really sick, so germs, pack of germs. Okay, just wanted to, thought that was a cool one. Anyways, what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Let's dive straight into it. We got to talk about the whole Nintendo Switch Online fiasco, and I also want to talk about a pack of beauty or a pack of absolute lies. I don't know. Let's actually start there. Mortal Kombat 1 got officially announced and confirmed for Nintendo Switch. Now, this thing is debuting on September 19th of this year. I gotta love games that get announced in May and are out in September, like basically exactly 4 months. Very cool, 120 days, and we're playing it. This is a reimagining of Mortal Kombat. It's the second Mortal Kombat 1, so it's Mortal Kombat 1, 2. Oh, you get it now, Mortal Kombat 12, Mortal Kombat 1, 2. What's interesting here is that they're adding these new fighters called cameo fighters that basically sound like assist characters from, say, Marvel vs. Capcom. They're bringing in helper characters for the battles. They're going to be adding more of those via DLC, as well as additional characters. I'm sure there'll be other cameos with a C, which would be like, you know, how they had Freddy, Jason, and all those characters come. I'm sure there'll be fun faces like that, but there's also cameo with a K, not to be confused with the Microsoft 360 launch game. These are just, they're assist fighters, which is great. But the part I want to talk to you about is Nintendo Switch. Debuting on Nintendo Switch, right? Nintendo Switch 1, the Switch we have September 19th. Is this actually going to happen? We've had a lot of games promised in the last year and a half, day and date, third-party titles, and none of them have really came out. The only one I can think of is the Skywalker Saga, the Lego game, and like that's not like a, oh, but it's a Lego game, because that game looks ridiculously good and has a ton of content. But if we think about Dead Island 2, if we think about Midnight Suns, if we think about Hogwarts Legacy, none of these games are out. None of these games, I mean, 2 of them are just like gone. One's officially canceled. One's supposedly now coming in November. Do we think that Mortal Kombat 1 is actually gonna hit September 19th? Do you wanna make a bet on it? I don't know. I mean, Mortal Kombat has supported the Switch before, but Dead Island was on the Switch before. Warner Brothers has put games on the Switch before. I don't know. 2K put a ton of games on Switch, and the Midnight Suns just got canned. Are we gonna get a big third-party game day and date on Switch in 2023? Is that Destiny or not? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Nintendo thinks that it's time to update Zelda again. They gave it a 1.1.1 patch. Basically, the big thing it clears up is the closed door quest. Apparently, there was some glitch that didn't allow you to finish that. Now that has been repaired, and there's gameplay experience improvements. We don't know what those mean. They're not very detailed. This seems like a very minor patch. 1.2 would be the next big one, and of course, I'll keep you posted with deep details on that. I also want to let you know that Zelda Tears of the Kingdom did insanely well, right? 10 million copies, we talked about that the other day. In Japan, it was the 7th largest video game launch of all time. That's bonkers. Bonkers because there's 6 games higher. Now, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom dropped 2.24 million copies in Japan over the weekend, which is fantastic for its launch, but that's 7th. And do you know what's number 1? Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet pushed double that. Pokemon Scarlet Violet was 4.05 million copies, which shows just how insane that launch was. Splatoon 3 is actually number 2 at 3.45, and I'm kind of shocked that Splatoon dropped more than Zelda in Nintendo's homeland. It's kind of crazy. Animal Crossing New Horizons also dropped more than Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom, massive success. I'm not trying to take away from it. I just thought it was fascinating that those games performed better at their launch in Japan with technically a smaller install base, smaller amount of Switches to sell to. I don't know, Pokemon, Splatoon, Animal Crossing, all huge obviously in the East, but Zelda, you know, I mean, I guess this is very good for Zelda nonetheless. Kudos Zelda. All right, let's get to the big freaking gray creature. So yesterday I talked all about Nintendo Switch Online and how it's pathetic that they introduced Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance and haven't done anything with it. They dropped Metroid Fusion on March 9th, and it's almost June and we have nothing. They randomly like sprinkle in some NES titles, some Game Boy Color titles, some Sega Genesis titles, one N64 game in Pokemon Stadium that is only rental teams. It's really been a bad couple of months for Switch Online. And then what happens yesterday, again, cannot be coincidence. Yesterday, last night, Nintendo releases the next wave of Game Boy Advance games for Switch Online, or at least announces them. And that has to be in direct response to my video, right? It has to be in direct response to me and everybody's feedback that we can't take this. We can't have Game Boy Advance announce the most exciting thing to happen to Switch Online yet, and we go nowhere with it. We gain no ground, we get one title, nothing. But then, I feel like they wanted to spite me specifically, because they know I'm not a replayer, they know I'm not a rewatcher, they know I don't really do that. So what did they do for their first big GBA drop since basically the first GBA drop? I know March was when they launched, or February is when they launched, but March 9th was their one and only first GBA drop. So this is their second GBA drop. And it's Mario Advance 1, Mario Advance 2, and Mario Advance 3. The numbers are all goofy because Mario Advance 4 is Mario Brothers 3, and Mario Advance 2 is Mario World, and Mario Advance 1, whatever. You're getting Mario Brothers 2, Mario World, and Yoshi's Island on Switch Online. Guess what 3 games are already also on Switch Online? Oh, Mario Bros. 2, Mario World, and Yoshi's Island. Slap in the face! Slap in the face! Spite the hand that feeds! I swear, Nintendo, you drop 3 games to make it look like you're doing 3 times what you did in March, but the games you pick are 3 titles. I know there's some slight additions to these versions, but nobody's really excited for this. Nobody, and I get that you want to hype Mario, but the dang movie made over $1 billion. You've made enough off of Mario right now. Until you're ready to release the next Mario game, we don't want this. For Game Boy Advance to come in and have Metroid Fusion and then Mario Advance 1, 2, and 3, it doesn't cut it. Like, yes, you're tripling up on the amount of releases, and yes, sweet for 3 in a row, but this 3 GBA games could have been Golden Sun, Pokemon Pinball 2, and F-Zero, because you announced that, right? Or any number of other Game Boy Advance games that are more exciting. 3 different titles. This is redundancy on such a level, I cannot believe it. Like, I literally find it offensive that we're getting 3 Game Boy Advance games, and they're 3 titles that are already on Switch Online. They are doing alternate versions of games already there and covering it up like they released new Game Boy Advance games. And if they did new ones every month, it's whatever, okay? At least we get 3. They're filling out the library, and hey, at least they didn't launch with these 3. We could have had Mario Advance 1, 2, and 3 instead of Minish Cap and some of the other games like Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, so I'll give them that. But when you release Game Boy Advance games only once every 3 months, you cannot do this. You cannot give us already existing titles in alternate versions on the same service. And oh, by the way, this is part of the paid expansion. You can already play these games part of the free expansion. But now what? You get the Game Boy Advance version if you pay? I don't know who greenlit this. I want to know names. I want to know specifically what person at Nintendo said, okay, for our first trick, Metroid Fusion, great choice. But who got to pick the second trick? Who got to pick that the second release was 3 Mario games already out there, 3 months apart, and this is what we get. Now, I want you to know that we have to wait until probably July or August for the next Game Boy Advance drop based on the current cadence. So I hope you really enjoy playing Mario Brothers 2, Mario World, and Yoshi's Island, which are 3 great games, don't get me wrong, but 3 games we already have on Switch Online, and now you can play them again for the next 3 months until we get... It's just sad. Like, in a way, yes, like, wow, it's pretty cool that they finally dropped this literally the same day I talk about it and make a stink. But this is just absurd. For this to be the way that you launch your Game Boy Advance service, which should be a super exciting fan servicey thing, like, this should be for the fans. They should just unload the best Game Boy Advance games as a thank you for 6 years of great Switch sales, as a thank you for $700 million worth of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, because they upped the price. They also upped the price of Switch Online, and how they reward us with our $50 expansion pack is this. I want everything in my power to say that Switch Online is a good value, and to say they'll get it right, and to say they'll do it good. But they probably won't. I mean, look, everything aside, it's still only $4 a month. It's hard to complain. But really, Nintendo? You have all the catalog in the world and this is how you choose to do it. You know that we've been waiting a long time for Game Boy Advance. It's been since March 9th that you dropped freaking Metroid Fusion, and your follow-up, your second act, your big huzzah, we're gonna keep the ball rolling, is to give us duplicates. I don't know, I personally think that's just absolutely insane. And again, I cannot understand why anyone did this, and I'd love to know who did this and who picked this. There are like 200 good Game Boy Advance games, and a ton of them have already been tested on the emulator based on leaks we know from last summer. This is what they give us. Well, here's your summer Mario games, because they don't have a Mario baseball ready to throw in our face. They have Mario Advance, Mario World. It's just, there's probably a few people that are excited for May 26th, next Friday, when these drop. I know there's people say, some people say it's the best version of Yoshi's Island, some superior versions of these games because they do add some things, there's some bonus levels, yada yada. No, this is not how you get it done. This is not how you expand Nintendo Switch Online. You're gonna do this once every quarter, once every 2.5, 3 months, and we're gonna get 3 redos. I can't talk about it anymore. I find it to be absurd, and I know Nintendo right now is like God's gift to the gaming universe because nobody even knows how they made Tears of the Kingdom. It's just incredible, it's amazing. It's a phenomenal game. It deserves all the applause and accolades it gets. But it does not hide the fact that Nintendo is dropping the ball so massively. Not even Recall, not even Ascend, not even Ultra Hand could pick it up at this point. What on earth are you doing with Nintendo Switch Online? You have a good thing going, the best online service you've had despite paltry past attempts. You finally introduced 2 exciting systems, and you give us retreads. This is pathetic. They can put however many games they want at any point, whichever order, whatever games. There's no licensing issues when you own the IP. Mario Advance 1, 2, and 3 is the biggest cop-out ever for the second wave of GBA, and this should have been included alongside something else, or at the start, or do it every darn month. Pick up the pace, there better be a summer drop, otherwise we're gonna have the same conversation in 2.5 months. There better be a June release for Game Boy Advance because this is not gonna cut it. Mario Advance is my first Game Boy Advance game, but it will not be number 2, 3, 4, 5. It won't be any game that I play on Switch Online Game Boy Advance. I don't need that. I have Mario Brothers 2 in a million versions, not just on Switch Online, but in every other Mario collection ever graced this earth. Oh, it's just sad. Switch Online could be so freaking cool. This could be the gift that keeps on giving, and it could be the museum that we take to our friends, our family, our children. And instead, it's just like a sick joke of how little they think we're worth. That's a sad thought. All right, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. At the end of the day, it's just video games. I just can't believe that someone greenlit this decision. There are humans behind this decision. There are people that picked this. There are people that wanted this for us. There are people that thought this was a good idea. Oh gosh. Okay. Thanks so much for watching. I could sit here forever because it really blows my mind. Okay. Thanks so much for watching. SwitchForce out.